So you want Hollywood level lighting but only use one light? Yeah, me too. And turns out it's totally possible to get these results using nothing but a tiny budget LED light that runs on a battery. You can use any light you might already have, but today I'm going to use the brand new Molus X100 RGB from ZHIYUN and Kameki. I'm going to show you exactly how I move nothing but this one light to get 3 distinct lighting styles that look and feel like a much bigger production. Okay, so for the first setup, we have the Fresnel. I don't know what this is called. I call it the cowboy lighting or the Tarantino lighting because I know this lighting technique from Tarantino films. What? Guess we use the cable then. I just charged this battery. There's not really a way to secure this to the stand. They put a big hard light behind the actors, which gives it a really nice rim light. And then it bounces the light off of tables, which gives the face a really nice bouncy glow from below, which is nice for when you have characters that are wearing big hats. That's what I mean with you can't secure this cable anywhere. Because if you would light them in the classic way, then the shadow from the brim would just like cover their eyes. And this way you can just like retrieve the light from below, which is really nice, I think. And now I'm throwing my own shadow here. I'm killing my own reflection. So how do we fix that? So I was just trying to get that same effect where it is kind of a challenge because if I'm wearing that big of a hat, it is also throwing a shadow on the table, which then obviously reduces the bounce light you get back from the table. So just trying to get the right angle for that. Oh my god. Like, you should put in a screwing mount, ZHIYUN. I think this is it. But let's put on some anamorphic glass. And now the last thing to make this really cinematic is just use this little smoke ninja here, which has become one of my favorite tools for creating cinematic images quickly and on a budget. First question I want to answer is, what does a Fresnel actually do? So a Fresnel is basically a big lens but contracted into a flat shape and made more compact. So you can put it in front of the light and it's not as heavy, but it has the same effect as if you would just put a big lens in front of the light. So it basically focuses the light. That's what it does. Fresnel lenses is just what you have historically in like all these tungsten lights. So for classic movies, like Tarantino movies or even older movies, they would use these Fresnel lights to put behind actors and bounce and use in the same way as I'm using it right now. The interesting thing about this specific Fresnel is that it's really, really small and really compact. And when you put it in front of the LED, it makes it even brighter. And it's a really nice way to get the most of this little tiny light. One drawback is that you are not able to focus the light as you would on a classic Fresnel lens. The cool thing here is that you can even add barn doors magnetically, which helps with spill on a white backdrop like this, for example. So if I just take off these barn doors, which are getting kind of hot, like you can see that this spills everywhere and it's not nearly as controlled. We just add this back on and it looks really nice. So that's setup number 1. I think we can keep rolling and just create the next look, the A24 Netflix look. And we zoom out and we're gonna take the Softbox. This tiny light has a Softbox, would you believe it? Softboxes have kind of become the default lighting modification because it's so easy to get like a nice look with it. But I challenge you to go out there and try to create some cool images without using a Softbox, with using something else like a Fresnel or the other modifier that we're gonna get into in the next look. Now this ZHIYUN softbox is really nice because it's so tiny and compact and it's really easy to set up. Somewhat of a 45-degree angle. So what I did here with this setup is I just used the standard 45-degree rule, just standard lighting like you would see in any YouTube video or like modern cinema like Netflix and A24 movies. They always use like really nice soft light. You can try to minimize the spill on this backdrop by using a grid. I've seen a lot of people just like putting in all the diffusion and the grid per default. But just keep in mind that using all these modifications cuts out a lot of light. So if you want more light, maybe take out one layer of diffusion, maybe take out the grid. Only use the grid when you have to cut out some spill, like in this situation, for example. This is our grid right here. I'll zoom in again. And this looks much better. Let's get this to around 30%. I think this looks pretty decent. It's a very small softbox, and for that I think it looks pretty good. You could use a bigger softbox with the Bones mount adapter, but just for demonstration sakes, I think this works really nice. You want to look out for this Rembrandt triangle, so when you put up the light, you just want to make sure that you get the highest contrast. Put the camera on the darker side of the face. It's gonna look much nicer. I want to play around with RGB functions here. Create this kind of look. Could add, for this look, a Pro Mist filter. So this is without, and this is with. Something else that I've seen becoming a trend with the A24 look and everything, using colored light. And I've asked myself, when would I really want to use colored light? It is a really interesting way to modify your light and play with the image, but I would say that you do have to be kind of careful where you use it, because if you overuse it, I feel like it loses the effect. And also sometimes it's nice to just build up a contrast between other lights. Like here, for example, I'm only using one light to light this whole scene, which is the point of this whole video. But still, I am trying to get kind of a color contrast. So we have like two colors here. We have this more bluish background and this more reddish foreground. Contrast is the key here. Now we're gonna move to style number 3, using my most favorite modifier. Take off the softbox and add the spotlight. And with the spotlight, I actually have 3 ideas of 3 cool styles we could do, which the first one, we use the colored light. With the spotlight, there's so much you can do, and I feel like it's such an underrated tool. And I really love using this tiny compact spotlight for the ZHIYUN, because especially having this on a battery-powered light that is 100 watts, there's just so much you can try around with, and I really recommend you going out and playing around with this setup, because it just gets the creative juices flowing. This is not the final lighting style that I'm going to use for, but that's a cool setup. But the spotlight is so versatile, which is why I love it. So let's go back to white. I mean, we could also try something like this. Looks like I'm on a stage or something.
And it's too bright.
It is too bright. It is on 30%. You can turn it even down to like 10%. Still not the final setup that I want to make, but also another look. Let's make this look even more epic. I'm just gonna put the light behind myself to create a lighting beam, hopefully. Oh, look at that. And something we do want to do here is add a gobo. What is a gobo, you might ask? It's this tiny little thing here that is a cutout from like a window or whatever. And I'm just gonna shape the light even more and make it look like it's just sunlight peeking out from a window or whatever. So we put that in. And then we can focus the light. We can really get out the shape and we get the full noir vibe. I think this is a really cool look.
It's not black and white.
But we do get the same kind of effect as before. Table just bouncing back some light. I do want to kind of really use a reflector here. If you don't have a reflector yet, you can use that for like 20 bucks or something on Amazon. But this is pretty strong. Just use the white side. I zoom out. I'm just holding the reflector like this. But it works. We add a little bit more haze. So now it is time to change the lens. And for this one, to create this noir style, I do want to use this vintage Helios. Going back to classic movies, they tended to use more harder lights because in the theater you have spotlights. And when we first moved into motion picture, we were using the same lights that they used in the theater. So they used harder lights. So if you want to emulate a vintage look, you should also use harder lights, because it makes it look much more authentic. Now with this spotlight, I did notice it gets really hot, which is normal. Like if you use lights, they usually get hot. We just got used to using LEDs and they don't get hot as much, but if you put such a power in such a small light and focus the light within such a small tiny little spotlight, it does get hot. So you just have to be careful handling that. I think there's just so endless opportunities that you can use this light with, and experiment is so versatile that I think this is totally worth the price, and I really recommend anyone who's getting into filmmaking and into creating their own lighting styles to pick up this light, because it's just the best light for beginners I've seen out there yet. If you watched this video up until this point, thank you very much. It means this content found its right audience, and that if you haven't, you should subscribe. It's free after all. Other than that, the algorithm thinks that this could be another video you could enjoy. But I guess there's only one way to find out. Bye.